All right, welcome back to the Weekend Warrior Podcast, episode 35. This is Pat, and I am here today with Mac and Goo from the Mac and Goo podcast. Welcome on, fellas.
Happy to be here. Very happy to talk some Patriots today.
Very excited.
Yes.
I'm
So
Goo, by the way.
And I'm Mac.
There we go.
Yes, there we go. So I like how you introduce yourselves as Goo and Mac instead of Mac and Goo, but that's okay. That's all right. But they actually host a movie podcast, which is really good. You should listen to it. And we will talk about where you can meet them and find them and whatnot. But they're a good show, and they do talk sports, obviously, as well. And we're going to talk some sports, as they said, some Patriots. Really, just a season recap today. Some bombshell news dropping on ESPN, apparently, at least. So we'll see. So without further ado, let's get started. Yikes, that was rough. All right, so before we start with the whole ESPN thing, we'll just do a quick season recap. Obviously, 13-3, but I can't help but feel like I wasn't totally satisfied with the season.
Well, I feel like because of the offensive injuries and the up and down of the defense, you never felt like they were like clicking on all cylinders. You never felt like this is a Super Bowl team. Like I didn't have that moment during the year where I was like, all right, now they're finally Super Bowl caliber.
I would say before that Dolphins game, I felt like they were Super Bowl caliber almost every single week, but that was also watching every other team in the league, knowing that everyone else had major deficiencies. And then once that Dolphins game hit, once it became colder, Brady always goes into like these slight tailspins at the end of the year anyways, when the weather starts to hit. But I still feel like even after watching all these games, they're still far and away the best team in the league.
I mean, I would agree with that. I feel like there's more competition in the NFC, obviously, than there is in the AFC.
But even in the NFC, if you look at Minnesota, who, if they actually made it to the Super Bowl, they're technically the home team, but they would be in the away locker room. I don't know if that plays into it.
That would be great.
But, well, that's actually true. And also,
it would be wild.
They have Case Keenum.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even worry about the NFC just yet. I feel like if you want to talk about Patriots' performance in the AFC, obviously you get that lucky ass call against Pittsburgh. I know by letter of the law that's not a catch, but you didn't necessarily outplay Pittsburgh in that game. Kansas City's whipped your ass once. They're not the same team they were in week one, but you have the Jaguars waiting there too, who is the classic type of team that beats you in the playoffs. So,
and also might lose to the Bills in the first round.
Yeah, no, it's not. They're clearly the best team in the AFC, but I don't think it's without a doubt that we make the Super Bowl.
I agree.
Well, it's interesting because that first game is going to be interesting to see what happens. I think Kansas City is going to be the team that comes in here because I think Tennessee just absolutely blows.
Yep.
And I think Buffalo could theoretically go into Jacksonville and win. I just don't think it's going to happen, but it would be kind of awesome to see Buffalo come back in here. But I mean, Kansas City, there's zero chance that Kansas City wins in here a second time. I just don't think it happens.
I don't think Alex Smith has the talent.
Well, that's the good thing about the AFC is most of the quarterbacks suck, and even Ben Roethlisberger on the road is not even close to the player he is at home.
Right.
So you're dealing with Ben Roethlisberger
and a banged up Brown too.
Yep, yeah, that's true. Ben Roethlisberger, Alex Smith, Blake Bortles, Tennessee. I'm not even going to take seriously, and you can't take Buffalo seriously.
Marcus Mariota,
right?
His mama makes a nice sauce.
But I think he's from Hawaii. But either
just a small note there.
But anyways,
it's a soy sauce.
But no, I think I do think they win. I don't know who's going to challenge them. I guess Pittsburgh maybe could, but I don't believe it from Pittsburgh. I know that Pittsburgh probably outplayed them when they played them in Pittsburgh, but like until Pittsburgh beats the Patriots, I can't take Pittsburgh beating the Patriots seriously.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the only team to me that scares me the most is Jacksonville because they have the defense. The only problem is it's Jacksonville. Like
right.
Jacksonville's going to
Is
come here and win with
Bortles
Blake
gonna get-
Bortles? That's crazy.
Right.
Jacksonville does have 3 linemen that can get to the quarterback on every single play. And that's what always beats the Patriots.
Right. Well,
I
it's
mean,
true.
I would say I would be most worried about Jacksonville, but when you say that, I want to punch myself in the face. Like I shouldn't be worried about Jacksonville. But if you evaluate their past playoff losses, that is the exact team that beats them.
Yeah.
Right. No, and
And I think I think the only way that Pittsburgh does beat them is if they have all of their offensive pieces at full cylinder ready to go. Brown has to be fully healthy because what the Patriots do best on defense is take away one player. So if they went into the game and everyone's healthy and they said, all right, I'm going to take away Brown, Bell then puts up 250 yards against you.
Right.
I'll take that though.
But that's how Pittsburgh can win, though, because then they also still have Juju Schuster-Smith. They still have Eli Rogers. Still have Ryan.
Oh, not Eli Rogers.
Who's Eli Rogers?
No, it is Eli Rogers, but I don't think anyone's scared of Eli Rogers.
Rogers put a touchdown against us. Because,
Uh-oh.
well, it's because certain cornerbacks can't play in the slot for us. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
not worried about that.
But look, he's right about that. And the fact that a lot of times when it is someone beating the Patriots, it is like maybe a secondary guy and not necessarily like the number one guy.
it's a multifaceted offense.
Right. I just don't believe in Pittsburgh's defense. I mean, I feel like the Patriots can do whatever they want to Pittsburgh's defense. I know they tried to play a little bit of man last time, but I just feel like they didn't do a good enough job with it. And I don't know how they can possibly do it against the Patriots consistently.
Yeah.
I don't think they have the pass rush to nearly flush to Brady.
No.
And that's what it's going to come down to.
Right. I mean, look at how, if you look at, and Mac, you're totally right. Like if you look at how teams have beat them in the past, it is about getting after Brady. You rush 4 and get there with 4, and then you drop 7 and you play man to man.
Yep.
And you get up on the receivers and you reroute them at the line. And that's how you do it, because the timing offense. If you're going to sit back and play zone, you're going to get killed.
Right.
And so if you can get after the quarterback with 4 and play man and have, 2 safeties deep, well, now you have a shot,
and
And that's
especially
what Jacksonville does.
yeah, and especially
Right.
consider not only does Jacksonville have the pass rush, a 4-man pass rush, they got 2 of the best corners in the whole league.
Yeah.
So that's gonna, I mean, we'll get to Brandon Cooks in a bit, but they'll take him out of the game. So it's gonna come down to Gronk versus the safeties and the linebackers, like it often does. But I mean, Jacksonville does scare you a little bit.
Right. Well, that's the real key. I mean, I think to me, I'm more okay playing a number 1 corner than I am playing like a number 1 safety, like a guy like Eric Berry, who obviously is hurt for the Chiefs now. But like, if you could take Gronk out of the game, that affects him a lot more than if you can take, say, Brandon Cooks out of the game. Because it's like, okay, great,
Yeah.
you took away Brandon Cooks, but like, we'll still kill you with Gronk all day long,
Absolutely.
I think what the Patriots usually have a lot of problems with too is when the other team can send either a middle linebacker or a defensive tackle right up the middle and push Brady off to one side or the other. That's what the Texans did last year, and that's what that's what Kansas City did this year in the first game. Is they completely took Brady off of his mark and he couldn't step up in the.
Right. No, that's a good point. It's a good point, and yeah, I mean, on paper, Jacksonville is the team that makes the most sense. But again, it's Jacksonville, and you're like, why you expect me to say that Jacksonville is going to come in here in New England in January and beat the Patriots? But
With a rookie running back with Blake Bortles.
right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I guess that speaks to the quality of the AFC because that's where we really are right now.
Yeah.
right. No, it's true. It's true. So we
I
will
miss Mark
see.
Brunell.
Mark
Jimmy
Brunell.
Smith, Keenan. Oh, that was a good.
They had a hell of a team. A hell
Keenan
of a team.
Cardell,
It was a
Freddie
great-
Taylor.
That was a great Madden team back in the
Yeah.
day.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great blitz team.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Well, and then so that year the Patriots played the Jaguars and the
AFC
Panthers
championship.
played
Yeah.
and the Panthers played the Packers. So
Yep.
the 2 expansion teams from a few years earlier. I think 95 was their first year, I believe. So it was the
Yep.
second year in the league, and both franchises made it, which was like unheard of.
Just like the Vegas Knights this year. Watch them win the cup.
Very true. You never
That's
know.
all you want, Mac.
Yeah,
but
I know.
the Las Vegas Magnetos.
Malcolm
crazy.
Subban.
That was a hockey reference. We don't get onto hockey very
Oh,
much
sorry about that.
on this podcast. That's okay. It's just honestly, there's too much shit going on between the
I know.
Celtics and the Red Sox and the
Oh,
Patriots.
absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll get to
When
the
you say
Brewers.
so much shit, you mean nothing with the Red Sox.
Pretty much, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, I got some positives for the Patriots here. We talked
Yes, do it.
negatives and
Uh-oh.
Here.
We lost you there for a second, Mac. We're losing you. Are you still there?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I'll start over.
Start over.
So the big takeaway I have here at the end of the season through 17 weeks heading into the playoffs, Dion Lewis is healthy, Gronk is healthy, and I feel like ultimately those are the two that matter most that aren't Brady. Because if you think about it, 2 years ago when we lost in the AFC Championship to Denver, we lost ultimately because we couldn't run the ball and they were just pinning their ears back and getting after Brady. In that game, Brandon Bolden, James White, and Steven Jackson touched the ball 14 times for 31 yards.
You leave Steven Jackson out of this.
But my point,
yikes.
They lost Lewis that year. They lost Blunt. And I think with Lewis and Burkhead, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch that can at least,
but
back the linebackers off.
But not only that, those are two backs that are dual threat backs that you don't know what the offense is going to do at any time.
Correct.
Both of them can run the ball. Both of them can catch the ball. That's why we haven't seen White play a lot either.
Right. But so that's a good thing. That's the first thing. Lewis and Gronk are healthy. Secondly, you're going to have either Hogan or Malcolm Mitchell coming back. And I think that's going to help in a big way because really now your only productive outside receiver is Brandon Cooks. So I think it'll help Cooks out a little bit of the pressure on him, and it'll just give Brady another option on the outside because after a while, you can game plan for swing passes to the running backs. And if you have one good corner, you shut down Cooks. I mean, Miami did it. If Gronk doesn't take over, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So either Mitchell or Hogan getting back, I think is going to help big time.
Right. No, I think that's a great point. I mean, I think that Hogan is probably going to be the one to come back and not Mitchell, even though Mitchell was really the only guy that could beat man coverage last year in the Super Bowl.
Right.
But I feel like it's extremely unlikely that he comes off of IR unless, for some reason Hogan re-injures his elbow or shoulder and can't go, or someone else gets hurt, then maybe he comes off. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be huge for them. I also think, to me, and I know it's a little bit off of like what people normally talk about, but Matthew Slater is a freaking, he's just unbelievable. I've never seen anybody do what he does better than what he does. Better than he does it.
I don't ever seen someone love special teams that much that wasn't a kick returner.
Or
like,
wasn't
I just loves being a gunner.
Because Belichick loves special teams.
Yeah,
Matthew Slater loves performing on special teams. They are a match made in heaven.
He's just so freaking good at it, and you just watch him. I mean, like they had the 2 punts. It really stuck out to me last week watching the game, or I was at the game, and they were kicking away from me. I sit in the north end zone by the lighthouse. They were kicking away from me, and it was kind of short. And Allen just kicked it up, and he just ran down to like the 5 and just caught it. And then like, what the hell, dude? And then the next one.
So impressive.
The Patriots always seem to find players that love special teams. Like Rex Burkhead loves special teams.
I think what happens is most other coaches don't want to waste a roster spot on a guy that's only a special teamer. And Belichick's perfectly happy.
Belichick wastes like 7.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, Brandon Bolden. Sure.
Right. Well, and I think it's, it's obviously it's pretty smart because he feels like having a good special teams is just as important as having a good, well, maybe not just as important, but it's, the third part of the football game.
We're going to carry 3 wide receivers, but 7 special teamers.
Well, technically one of them is a receiver. You know what I mean?
We're going to carry 4 tight ends and a fullback, but only 1 wide receiver.
That's always great when Slater does get into the game on offense and they try to get one bomb to him. And It's never even close.
Yep.
Well, the Ravens, was the playoff game against the Ravens?
It was the playoff game against the Broncos. It was the AFC Championship game. And the first drive of the game, Brady tried to throw like a Hail Mary up the Slater. And slid anywhere near it.
No.
But he just knows how to run straight. Doesn't know how to look up for the ball.
Yep.
Yeah, it was not great. So, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think offensively they're okay. I think defensively is a concern too. I mean, one thing, an underrated aspect of what the Patriots have done this year is that they've done what they're doing without, their probably second or third most important player on offense and their most important player on defense, arguably at least in Hightower and Edelman. And it's just like, you look at the defense and I'm like, okay, who knows? I mean, Van Noy's back, which is good. So that will help them.
Yeah.
But man, the defense.
And that's also going into a season where they were already super thin in the front seven.
Right.
So,
I mean, I think in the last couple of weeks, especially as you mentioned, Van Noy getting back is definitely big because then Roberts doesn't have to play hopefully much. But the last couple of weeks, Marquise Flowers has actually showed really well, and especially in pass coverage on third down. So they've been
which
using
is
him.
huge.
Yeah, they've been using. He's a fast linebacker. He's not particularly talented at anything other than being fast, but on third down to cover a running back, to cover a tight end, that's huge because we don't have anyone else like that.
Like a young Gary Guyton.
Right. Oh God. We had the same number too. So
Maybe it's Gary Guyton.
But to speak to that, and I've got one advanced statistic for you, and I'm not going to pretend to know how exactly this is measured, but I'm going to give you DVOA, which is defense adjusted value over average, and that ranks them 31st in the league. So basically, DVOA measures a team's success on a given play through points and yards, gains or loss, etc., versus what would have been expected after accounting for the down, distance, game situation, quality of opponent. So it's a pretty all-encompassing stat, and really it gives you an idea of where they are, and they're 31st. So you're absolutely 100% right to be worried about the defense.
Right. I mean, it's interesting with the Patriots because they always give up a shitload of yards. They just always do.
Yeah.
It's just that's the way it is. But then again, that they averaged 18.5 points against this year. So, and which was like 5th in the league. And so it's like they give up a ton of yards, and it just seems like that happens all the time this year. All the time with the Patriots is that they give up a ton of yards, they get to the 20-yard line, and you can't get in the end zone once you get to the 20-yard line. I think it's 6. I think it was 6 turnovers in the red zone this year, which is number one in the league. And not only that, but I think they have, unless they had one. Did they have one in the last game? I don't think they had one in the last game. They had 18 turnovers total, and 6 of them were in the red zone. So that's a third of their turnovers happened in the red zone, which is crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, no, they're executing when it counts. And I think that's been Belichick's philosophy most of the time is he doesn't want to give up that big play. He's going to make you execute all the way down the field. And then when you get down in the red zone, that field's crushed. It's a lot less space. So it's a lot easier for a zone defense or a bump and run to cover that area. And that's basically how they've played it, especially in the second half of the year.
Also, I have nothing to back this up, but it feels like since week 5, Gilmore and Butler are having wildly inconsistent seasons, but they keep on picking off games to have bad games in. Like one game, Butler is good, but Gilmore sucks. The next game, Gilmore is good, but Butler sucks. Like they haven't been great in the same game yet, but they also both haven't been terrible in the same game yet.
When I think what's helped the secondary a lot, and of course the Patriots as a whole, the defensive unit has been playing really well for 6, 7, 8 weeks now. I think a big part of that is Duron Harmon. He's been kind of a jack of all trades.
Harmon.
They're asking him to do a lot of things, and he's executing to the fullest. And so that signing in the offseason, a lot of people are like, $20 million for Duron Harmon, and he is more than worth it now.
I also want to point out just how crazy it is that Belichick saw an average to below average safety in Patrick Chung and said, I'm going to create a whole new position for you. And he brings him back, and he's been phenomenal since coming back as that third safety / linebacker that kind of floats around the field.
Kind of a nickel corner. He'll cover running backs. He'll cover tight ends.
Yep.
You know what's really interesting about that is that, they had him originally, and Belichick has said this. We had them originally, and we played him wrong. We used him incorrectly, and after thinking about it more, he realized, well, shit, if we use him this way instead of that way, we can really get a lot more out of him than when we have. Yeah. And so, I think it was something where he almost like had an idea of what he was going to do, and went out and got him, and it's really crazy and unbelievable.
Yeah, because
you're totally right.
All I can think of from his first stint here is Scott Chandler just destroying him every single week. I don't know why, but that's the only image that I have in my head of his first stint here.
He really sucked when he was here at first.
Yeah,
like
he was
really sucked.
Big old
and it's true. And, just getting back to Harmon, like Mac talked about, I think it's interesting with Harmon because when they signed him, people look, and Felger Mass talk about it all the time, GTFB, right? Get the fuck back. Like that's all. That's what you have to do as the free safety, and that's what he does. So he plays as free safety. He says, "Okay, I'm just going to get back, and no one's going to get behind me." And honestly, it's hard to find, and it sounds stupid to even say, but it's hard to find a guy that can just be back there and not do anything stupid.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like
doing his job.
Yeah,
right. That's it. Do your job and don't do anything stupid. Don't take any stupid chances. Just don't let anything behind you, and you know, and don't do anything.
Which you feel like that's been Butler's biggest issue this year, where he's trying to play some hero ball,
right,
and he's letting some plays get behind him.
I really just think the biggest thing for me is that it's in his head. It's just mental for him. He's not competing like he has in the past. I don't know if he's pissed at the Patriots or he's upset that he's not going to get a big contract, or now that he hasn't been playing as well, he's worried he's not going to get a big contract. So he's trying to like inflate his stats or something. It's just like,
yeah, that's what it is.
You know, it's just play your game. I mean, it's frustrating for sure.
Yeah, and we talk about that, and I'm actually not even worried about the secondary because of the talent there. You got Butler, you got Gilmore, you got McCourty.
That's where their talent is.
Yeah. And so you get to the front seven, and they're averaging, or they're allowing a league high 2.95 yards before contact on rushing plays. And so you got to dive into that a little bit. Is it because they're playing a lot of soft zone, dropping back, but allowing teams to run?
Do you have the stat there for what is the after first hit?
No.
Okay, because the one thing that the Patriots are always great at is tackling players.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think where James Harrison is going to help out more so than the pass rush. I mean, he did have 2 sacks last week.
Garbage sacks, but yes.
I think what he's going to help out more is being stout on the edge, is preventing runs from going wide and holding the edge there.
I wasn't high on the Harrison move just because, you know, he's an older player. He's definitely lost a step. But in that game, he set the edge well, and he did close in on tackles extremely well. So,
well, if you watched it early, he was playing on first and second down and not playing on third down. And I was like, isn't he supposed to be rushing the passer? Right. But that's what they wanted him doing. They wanted him, you know, setting the edge and playing tough on the edge, because guys like Eric Lee cannot set the edge. He just can't do it.
No,
he's not what he's built for, you know?
And I think now that you have Flowers on one side and Harrison on another, that's 2 pretty stout defensive ends.
Yeah.
To go with actually a pretty solid interior defensive line.
I think their interior D-line is really good. I know the stats maybe don't bear it out, but Lawrence Guy and Jean Francois played really well.
Yeah, Branch is apparently practicing this week, I think.
He also, for the first half of the year, was not in shape.
Right.
Second half of the year, he got in shape, and he started moving people around again.
Yeah.
And so we're not worried about the secondary. The defensive line's okay to good. So that leaves the linebacking core, and it leaves a lot of questions. So you've had Marquise Flowers playing a lot the last few weeks, especially after Van Noy went down. They actually, in week 17, they had 12 third down plays, and they played 7 defensive backs on 9 of those with 1 linebacker, and the 1 linebacker every time was Marquise Flowers. So they obviously trust him in pass coverage and third down. So if he can fulfill that role, that's going to go a really long way, especially against a Kansas City where you get Hunt coming out of the backfield, or against Pittsburgh with Bell.
Right. Well, you know what's interesting is that I think, to me at least, I think defensively, and you're right, the linebacking core is definitely the weakest part. But if you look at the Kansas City game where they got killed, a lot of the problems that they had, especially in the fourth quarter, I mean, they were leading going into the fourth and got, guys scored 21-0 in the fourth quarter of that game. A lot of people forget that. Like, they were leading at the beginning of that game and they got murdered in the fourth quarter.
It was a lot of miscommunication.
Right. Miscommunication.
Secondary.
Yes, miscommunication, and also, just the design, the play design. On Hunt's long touchdown, they had a linebacker one-on-one against Hunt with no safety help over the top. It's just ridiculous. You can't do that, and so that's something that's not going to happen again.
Right.
And, and so just a chance to scheme them now for a full week, if they do end up coming in here, you'll have that opportunity. And so you can look at that and say, okay, there's no way that's going to happen to them again. Even if they play as bad as they did, if they don't allow those big plays, they still probably win that game, or at least are pretty close at the end,
Right. Yeah, they also missed on 2 opportunities early to go up 21-7.
Right.
And we also know this is that Belichick doesn't start running real defensive schemes until around Thanksgiving.
It's very true. Yep, very true.
I mean, you're right about that Kansas City game too. Two uncharacteristically long touchdowns given up, which you never see on a Patriots defense. And so when that happens, I mean, if you give up an 80, you're probably more likely to lose the game, and that's exactly what happens. So that's just not going to happen every week.
Yeah, that's true. So, but I do want to get back to the offense because, and you alluded to it, Mac. But I do want to talk about Brandin Cooks. I sent a Twitter poll out this week, and people responded to it. And I just basically asked if people had thought that Brandin Cooks had played underwhelming, or had been underwhelming this year, had been overwhelming, or had been whelming this year. And so,
I like that phrase.
Whelming.
So actually the majority of the people had been whelmed, sufficiently whelmed, but not underwhelmed or overwhelmed. But I don't know. I mean, his numbers are there, right? I mean, his numbers 65 catches, 1082 yards and 7 touchdowns. But I don't know, man. I mean, his targets this year, he had 114 targets and 65 catches. 114 targets and 60. I mean, it's 57% for those of you that aren't great at math out there.
Yeah,
that's not good.
And
no, but he also runs a lot of very low percentage plays, though. A lot of what he does is deep plays for this team, at least, because he did his offensive. What he did with the Saints was a lot different.
Well, yes and no. So I think what really screwed the Patriots and their plan for Cooks this year was Edelman going down in the preseason really threw a wrench into everything.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Mitchell got hurt. So they weren't at 100%. But to speak to Goose point, I think they got to use him a lot more underneath, a lot more crossing routes. We saw it in week 17. He had a touchdown on a crossing route. Where they're using him too much, I think, is those go routes, those posts, those corners, where he's trying to beat a guy 20 yards downfield. And that's just so much harder than beating a guy on a crossing route.
Yeah.
So it is a low percentage throw. But also I did expect more out of him. I don't think he's stuck out. I wouldn't say I've been underwhelmed by him, but I thought he'd have a bigger year.
So you think that you've been whelmed?
I've been whelmed, I guess.
I think I've been whelmed too, because what he's also done well this season is he drew a bunch of pies.
That's what we're calling them now, pies.
Yeah,
okay.
Pies. He drew a bunch of pies.
Well, I mean, it does fit with the whole math thing. I like that.
Yeah, but there were some plays where it seemed like he was trying to draw a pie and he wasn't fighting for the ball.
Right.
Yeah,
well, go ahead, Mac.
I do think that's been a bit of the offense lately, is basically the Joe Flacco offense. You throw it up, and Cooks is faster than the defensive back, so hopefully he gets a pass interference.
Pie.
It has happened more frequently the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Well, and the biggest problem I have is he doesn't fight back to the football. If you watch Hogan run a route, if you watch Mitchell, in the Super Bowl, and we talked about it, I've talked about it on the show before, in the Super Bowl, there would have been a pick six if Hogan hadn't fought his way back to the football and, ended up making a nice catch on it. But it's something that you may not notice if you're not looking for, but in coverage, unless you're open, you have to come back to the football and catch the ball. And if you just stand there waiting for it, it's either going to get broken up or worse, picked off. And I don't think he does a good enough job kind of fighting to get the ball. And I think that could hurt the Patriots, long term, especially, when it gets a little bit closer and gets a little bit tighter and everyone's playing, a little bit harder, I guess, in the Super Bowl or in the AFC Championship game. You want that guy going out fighting for every ball.
Yeah.
When you throw the ball deep, you want a guy like Randy Moss when you throw the ball deep who's going to go up and get it. Cooks doesn't do that.
Or just not come down. Not try. It was, either one. Yeah.
No, I think you've definitely got a point about fighting for the ball. And Mitchell in the Super Bowl is a perfect example. There were 3 or 4 sideline routes where he barely makes the catch by a couple inches because he's fighting back. Cooks does have a bit of a tendency to peel the route off because he's thinking about that first step after the catch. He's a little bit smaller. He doesn't want to get blown up. And also he wants to use his speed. He wants to make a big play. So it does lead to that tendency of not fighting back to the football.
Cooks also loves yak. So he wants to catch the ball on the run and then keep on going with it. So when he doesn't have that opportunity, he just kind of gives up.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I would say the only game that I was completely underwhelmed by Cooks would be that Miami game.
Yeah, he was terrible in that
when
game.
he was the focal point of the offense, and he did nothing.
Yeah, he
Right.
let the guy who was playing with the fucking flu
And
Yeah.
and what,
intercept 2 passes.
and what that tells me is that when he's up for like a contract, you can't give him giant money.
Right. Well, he's not going to get number one money for sure. If he's expecting that from anyone, he's not coming back here. I don't know if he's going to stay past this year. I know they love him. He's in the gym. He does a ton of film study. He does everything right. I just don't know if they're going to pay him the money it's going to require for him to be here after.
Well, I know that
next year.
they have some money open because they traded a quarterback away, and they're not going to sign one of their defensive backs back. So
well,
the money is there to be spent.
possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So well, let's get into that because there's now that we are traveling into the future and it's not Thursday night anymore, and it's whenever you're listening to it. The ESPN piece, I'm assuming, has already come out. If it is in fact coming out, which it sounds like it is, Seth Wickersham apparently is writing a hit piece about Brady and Belichick and Kraft and about all the shit that's going on over there. The Jimmy G trade is something that a lot of people have argued about and fought about, and whether it was good or not. In my personal opinion, I feel like you had to trade Jimmy G. There's no other option because you weren't going to re-sign him and you weren't going to trade Tom Brady. So like you got no other choice but to trade Jimmy G. Should you have gotten more for him? Probably. But the real question and what they're talking about basically is that there's a rift between Kraft and Belichick and Brady, and what's going, whether it's between Kraft and Belichick or between Brady and Kraft or I'm sorry, between Brady and Belichick. I'm not really sure on that end of it. One thing that I can tell you is that if it gets to a point where let's just say that in my opinion, if I had to choose between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, I'm choosing Bill Belichick. Not because not because any quarterback can do it, but because if he feels like Jimmy G is the guy and is going to win him Super Bowls in the future,
are you?
That's what I'd go with.
Are you saying that you would have made this decision back when Garoppolo was still on the team, or as of right now? Because if you pick Belichick over Brady, they have nothing else in the system.
Well, no, and now you're screwed. You got no choice, right? Now you're stuck with Brady and Belichick.
If there is a real riff and one of them has to go, you have to take Brady's side.
Right.
There is no other side on this, because then you can then say to Josh McDaniels, you step up, and then, or Matt Patricia, whoever you really want. But once again, this is completely hypothetical.
Yeah. So first off, I agree with your take on the Garoppolo trade, and I'm sure you guys have talked about it at length. And I think it's pretty clear they had to trade him. Their hand was played out.
Yeah.
They had no other option.
Yeah.
They didn't get enough. That's fair. We can't do anything about that.
But I
now.
also think that Belichick sent him to the 49ers instead of the Browns because he didn't want Garoppolo going to the Browns and then McDaniels also going to the Browns and then having them both in the AFC.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But I think more so the crux of this hit piece, and obviously we haven't read it yet. We're recording this before we've had a chance
we're not going to read it. Readings for nerds.
But if the crux of it is that Brady forced the Garoppolo trade, I just don't think that's true at all. I don't think there's any base for that. And so I think if that's the case, the whole argument's going to fall apart. But if you're talking, who Kraft's going to pick, I think Kraft picks Brady. And I think that's all that really matters here. Regardless of what the fans want, I too would pick Belichick.
Even at this point, though.
At this point, I think
you're pot committed on Brady at this point.
Yeah, like I had mentioned to you before, I think Belichick's got more years left than Brady. So that's what I would hang my hat on.
Belichick is 65.
Yes, I know that.
And he said that he does not want to coach into his 70s. So
I get it.
And Brady has said that he wants to play until he's 70. So
yeah, the difference though is Brady could fall off just like that. It's just it's a physical thing.
I agree.
So I would, as a betting man, I would put my money with Belichick, and that's a tough decision to make now. But I think part of maybe some of this rift and maybe Belichick cracking down on Brady a little more, so we've heard with the Guerrero stuff, as I think there might be some regret in that Garoppolo trade. He might think maybe he made the wrong decision.
He may think that. I mean, that's certainly possible. I don't know what is going to happen and what that thing is going to say. People have tweeted out. I think Jason Lock on 4 tweeted out. I don't know what it's going to say tomorrow, but Brady never pushed for a Jimmy G trade. I did hear that it's not going to say that he pushed for a Jimmy G trade, so I don't know what's going to be on there or not. But,
Okay.
But either way, that seems pretty unrealistic, like you said, that Brady pushed for a trade. Now, maybe he went to Kraft and said that, but again, look, this is the problem with that angle of it. Kraft had Bill Parcells here. He let him walk. And when he let him walk, when Parcells left, he said something to the effect of, you can't be expected to cook if I can't pick the ingredients.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and so,
right.
and so now Kraft is going to now turn around and say, okay, I have the greatest coach in the history of the NFL, and I'm going to force him to make a trade that he doesn't want to make. That's crazy. And so, to me, I feel like past history, he has that history already where he's like, no, like this is the guy that I need to, if he thinks that Jimmy G is better than Brady, and at the end of the year that Brady needs to go and Jimmy G needs to stay, then that's the right decision. And I think that he needs to live with that, or he needs to say, Bill's past his prime. He's done. That's that. And so to me,
clearly he is.
Right. Yeah.
Very clear.
Yeah.
It's a tough conversation to have, even after that piece, because I feel like there's almost no wrong answer. That's such a Patriots fan thing to say. I feel like there's almost no wrong answer. That's
I also just want to quickly, what's so funny about the Bill Parcells thing is that the piece of groceries that he speaks about is Terry Glenn.
I know, yeah.
And he always referred to him as Teresa Glenn. It's only been 20 years. That would never fly now.
Hey, rest in peace. Rest in peace.
I know.
Hey, Terry Glenn's dead. I forgot about that.
He is, yeah. Crazy, right? So
I've been Roger Ebert.
I do about the article tomorrow. I was talking to my buddy Artie, who's been on the show a few times, and he said something which I'm going to steal. But I guess I'm not stealing it because I'm giving credit for it. But he said, it sounds like a grain of truth on top of a mountain of bullshit, which, which to me, I'm like, okay, maybe there is, there was definitely some tension between Brady and Belichick with the Guerrero stuff, right? I think Guerrero maybe was interfering with some shit. He had been working with Gronk too. He's on the sideline. And before it was like, okay, work with Brady and that's it. And then he's like, maybe he's going over to the players and saying, hey, let me help you with this. And the trainer's like, dude, let us do our fucking job here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
I think a lot of what it was is that the players were looking for second opinions from other people outside of the training staff.
Right.
And once you have someone there that is not a part of the training staff yet is giving second opinions, you got to get him out of there.
Right. Right. I mean, if he wants to give second opinions on his own time in his own clinic, fine, but not on the sideline during the game. It's just not.
But the clinic is at the stadium.
That's true. That is true.
He has an office at the stadium.
That is very true. No, I mean, but the Patriots are also paying him to be on the sideline.
And he also peddles
to not be a member of the star. That's true.
He peddles snake oil.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see what the sources are in this hit piece if they get named.
But there will be zero named sources. That much I can promise you.
It'll be Ernie.
Well, but
don't worry.
What I'm getting at here is it's none of the players are going to say anything because that's just how the Patriots. That's just how they work. So could it be Guerrero feeding people something, saying now he's pissed, he feels jaded, maybe he's kind of playing some stuff up, maybe Brady said something once and he's making up a story behind it. You don't really know.
Right, but see, that just seems unlikely because Guerrero's so close to Brady that it's just even if his ego and pride is hurt, that he's going to go out there and put this shit out there about Brady's team and then kind of distract from the. I don't know. I mean, maybe
no, it's a good point.
It seems like it does galvanize the team, and maybe they'll kind of get behind it, and there's nothing going on. But now they got to answer questions about it and all that bullshit.
Now, once again, this is a complete hypothetical. But there obviously is a job opened up right now with a management team that Belichick really respects. That is the Maras.
The Gins.
Is this
yikes?
Is this him trying to end his career where he started?
Belichick, you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see him doing that. I don't think if Belichick leaves, I don't think he's making a lateral move. I think it's a sabbatical type of thing. Like he's not going to go right to another football team.
Well, do you think that he would do what Parcells did, which is kind of take like a front office job for like a year and then maybe jump back into coaching after?
I think he likes the X's and O's too much. I don't know.
Once again, he's not leaving. This is completely
no. I know, but if you leave it up to Kraft, I think Kraft picks Brady, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're talking about here. If Kraft's making a decision, and ultimately he He's picking Brady.
Well, and again, and I'll just tell you again, I feel like if you picked Brady, now maybe now your hand is forced where you have to pick Brady, but if he's the one that forced the Jimmy G trade, if Belichick wanted to keep Jimmy G and Kraft said no, trade him because for whatever reason, and that is what pushes Belichick out the door, whether he chooses Brady now because it's the only move he has to make because one of them has to go, and so you choose the quarterback over the coach. At this point, I mean, I understand that choice now, but if he's the one that forced that decision and Belichick didn't want to make that decision, it's unforgivable as far as I'm concerned, and it automatically qualifies him.
It's a great point to make. It's a very good point to make because now we cut out a little bit there.
No, you're
back up. Okay. No, it's a great point to make. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Just start that over again.
It's a great point to make because now what all that would do, if that's true, if that's the case, if Kraft, kind of put the hammer down, is Belichick's going to be like, well, what I'm supposed to have 100% control here. I'm the one making the decisions. And it does lead to that Parcells mentality. Now there's maybe a seed planted in his head. So now Kraft maybe unknowingly or maybe willingly is kind of giving Belichick a little elbow to the side, like, hey, your time is short here.
Kraft also bought this team when they weren't selling out. And since he's taken over, he has realized that Brady is the face of this organization. And if you have to pick, and once again, hypotheticals, but if you have to pick between the guy that has won you 5 Super Bowls, who might still have 3 more years left, and you don't want to see him in another uniform, because if Belichick had his way, he probably does trade him. I think I understand what Kraft's doing, where he does want Brady here until the end.
Oh, listen, I totally get that, right? And people will tell you, well, it doesn't matter because the Niners traded Montana and Joe Namath got traded.
Stupid Chief thing on his helmet. So
well, but see, here's the thing about Montana. Montana missed the entire 91 season and came back in 92 when Steve Young was already doing well. So it's like it's a little bit, it's really kind of disingenuous to say that the Niners like picked Steve Young over Joe Montana. Like at that point, Montana Young had played like a full season, and already you could tell how good he was. Jimmy G played 6 quarters.
And the Packers, and the Packers let Favre go because they were sick of his bullshit.
Right. And so it's one of those things where it's like they didn't necessarily pick Rodgers over Favre. They were just like, all right, we're done. Like we get it, right? But you've retired 47 times. Like just go away.
Which is something that Roethlisberger right now is starting to do, and I can see these Steelers doing the exact same thing to him that the Packers did to Favre. After every season, Roethlisberger says, I might just retire. Okay, let's draft someone else, develop them, and then when they're ready, you can go play for someone else.
Which they haven't done yet, which is insane that they haven't done that yet.
Yeah,
but
Landry Jones has a hell of an arm.
Yeah, he's not very good though. So, but so I did. I don't know. We're kind of running out of. Well, okay. Let's. I want to shift focus on the Patriots a little bit. I just want to talk about Belichick's former team, the Cleveland Browns, for a minute. I just think the Browns are an interesting case. Hugh Jackson is not getting fired, which is insane that's not happening.
It's tough. Yeah, 1-31 over 2 years and keep your job.
He's a very likable face. Though.
I saw this earlier on Twitter, and I cannot think for the life of me who I can't give him credit. But basically, the Browns have 31 losses over the last 2 seasons. For comparison, the Patriots have 32 losses over the last 9 seasons. That's just kind of mind blowing to think about.
Yeah,
and I mean the Browns here, are they trying to moneyball it? Like what are they trying to do here?
Well, didn't they hire someone from the Oakland A's?
They did.
Be their GM?
That was the last. Yeah. That was the last regime.
So yes, they actually were trying to moneyball it.
Well, they were.
That's exactly what it is.
I mean, but they keep trading back every year now. I mean, they had 3 first-round picks this past year.
They literally hired Jonah Hill.
Yeah, no, they did. Well, you know what? I think honestly, you can draw parallels to 2 other franchises, and neither of them are football, but the Astros, number 1, and the 76ers, number 2, where they're just saying, screw it, we're just going to tank because we understand that we're not going to win right now.
So, so the reason why I think the Astros and baseball in general, kind of, it's two entirely different things. Like it is even comparing apples and oranges.
Right.
Just because of the fact that Major League Baseball, you can put someone in the minor leagues and develop them for 5 to 6 years, and then you could have a 10-year run with that player. So your window with players is a way bigger chance to actually hit on those guys hitting at the same time. With football, the first contract is 4 or 5 years, and if they don't hit in that time along with other players, you're going to completely miss because you can't develop them in the minors with the other players.
No, it's very good. I mean, it's a good point. That's a very good point. I will say one thing I wanted to add about the Astros, because I did all this fucking research on the Astros before we totally dismissed them like you're doing.
Sorry to ruin that.
But you're right. No, you're right.
Come
no,
on,
totally
go, you asshole.
No, but I think you're totally right. It's very true. But I just thought it was interesting. Bregman, who was their third baseman, who was like disgusting. They drafted number 2 overall in 2015, and he was nasty this year. He was drafted in the 29th round in 2012 by the Boston Red Sox. Imagine him at third base instead of the crap that we've had there the last few years.
It's weird how that baseball system happens too. How they get drafted when they're 18, they don't sign, and then they get drafted.
Do you think that if you were allowed to do that in football, if someone was drafted first overall by the Browns, they'd be like, "Nah, no thanks, I'm all set."
Well, I mean, speaking to what they're doing now, they've missed on so many first rounders. We'll dismiss that. We'll give them credit. 2016, they had Corey Coleman, who he's had some injury issues, but when he's played, he's been pretty good.
Yeah.
And then this past year, they had Myles Garrett, Jabril Peppers, and David Njoku. Is that how you say it?
Njoku, I think is how you say it.
Njoku played really well. Garrett played really well. Peppers kind of played out of position all year, but they could have 3 hits there. And then they have 4 picks in the 2018 draft, 4 in the first 35.
Right.
So they have a real chance to turn it around quickly here. A la the Jaguars, a couple veteran signings, a couple hits, and they could really turn it around quick.
Right. Well, and I think, what's interesting is I think the Sixers maybe are a better comparison because basketball, obviously, there's a lot less players.
Yeah.
But you only need a few real superstars to win in this league, right? You need the quarterback, number 1, that has to be there. Yep. And you need a few guys on defense, right? If you can have that, if Garrett turns out to be that like Von Miller type of guy where you like have to account for him, or like a JJ Watt type of guy, like that could be, he could be a real force defensively. And then, you have a guy like Njoku, you have Corey Coleman. And then if they can somehow get a quarterback this year, like, holy shit, dude, like that, that really could be it for them. And they might say, they have $100 million in cap space right now. And so they have all those first round picks, but they could sign
Kirk Cousins. They
could.
And now you're not waiting for a rookie.
Now that the 49ers are out of the Kirk Cousins race, I think that he ends up going to the Browns.
It's possible, and that's actually a pretty good fit. And they still got Josh Gordon around. Josh Gordon looked pretty good when he came back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if Gordon and Coleman's your 1-2, you hit it on Njoku. You're in good shape. Crowell and Duke Johnson are no schlubs. Like, they're okay. Right. Their line's always been pretty solid, the offensive line. So
Joe Thomas is at least 80 years old now.
They're really not that. I know they just went 0-16, and this is dumb to say.
They are that far off.
No, but they're a couple hits away. They need a quarterback, obviously.
Quarterback is the biggest thing.
Yeah, but if they get a quarterback and they hit 1 or 2 more skill positions, that could be an 8-win team right there.
Say if they went out and they got Robert Griffin III.
Yikes.
Should be all set.
So, but seriously though, if they do sign Kirk Cousins, and now they get the number 1 pick, obviously, but I wonder if they trade that number 1 pick again, or they get number 4 as well. So maybe they draft, Barkley at 1, or they draft Barkley, which I am like super low on people drafting running backs in the top 5. I know Zeke Elliott's great, fantasy wise and everything like that, but
especially after this year,
I really feel
when you saw Hunt and Kamara. Why ever take a running back that high when you can see how many hit in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds?
Yeah, but you also had Fournette too, though.
Yeah, no, definitely. You could take the sure things high, definitely, but you can find close to as good as talent in the 3rd round.
With linebackers getting smaller because they have to be in coverage, running backs are starting to really show themselves more in this league again.
For sure. Yeah.
As a league shifts back more towards that early 2000s, at least.
Yeah, but however,
style of
but
play.
the problem is it's such a passing league that it really depends on the quarterback, and so you can't have a guy like Adrian Peterson. I don't think works in this league anymore because he just runs the ball. Like, what the hell
Right.
good is it to have a guy who just runs the ball? He has
Yeah,
to be able
no,
to catch
you're
the ball out of the
absolutely right.
backfield, and I don't know if Barkley can do that or not. But if he's a dual threat and he can catch the ball and run with the ball. Well, now you're looking at like a guy that can be legit. And sometimes those guys aren't great in college. Sometimes they're good in college, but they're not great because they're out of position and like, they don't run it as much because, they have the number one like pounding back or whatever. But like, I think in the NFL, you don't need that guy where you need a guy who can be multifaceted, who can run the ball. I mean, look at Deion Lewis. Deion Lewis is great because he can run and catch, and that's huge. And
He
in
was
the
very good
NFL,
at
that's
Pitt.
massive.
He was very good at Pitt.
Right. And then he went undrafted.
Classic.
So-
Just like Gary Guyton.
Right.
It's full circle.
It is
No,
full circle.
I think just as a blanket statement, I couldn't agree more with don't take a running back that high. Of course, you hit on Zeke, you hit on Fournette, but for every one of those, there's 5 guys in the third.
Trent
and fourth round.
Richardson.
I was just going to say that was a great pick by the Browns.
Right.
Darren
Yikes.
McFadden.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many of them. Ronnie Brown. I mean, Ronnie Brown was good for a while, but Ronnie Brown was taken number 2 overall. It's like, what are you doing?
Robert
And
Edwards.
so, oh God, don't mention that name. He was so good, that guy. I feel
was-
so
he was
horrible.
awesome.
He really
He was awesome.
Oh, they had to get rid of a stupid event because of him.
You know what's funny is every time I watch Le'Veon Bell run the football, I think, wow, Lawrence Maroney tried so hard to do that. He used to wait and wait and wait, and then he just would suck.
Deion Lewis has been doing that a lot more over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Really waiting for that hole to open up and then
It's
shooting through.
it's kind of weird though, because I've never seen anyone have success the way Le'Veon Bell is doing it. Like,
It's insane.
every running back coach you've ever had tells you to not do that.
Right.
And he just does it. He goes out of his way to do it. So
Zeke
Well,
semi
crazy.
does that.
I mean, credit to the Steelers more than to be that
Yeah.
patient.
I was going to say Zeke semi does that, but the holes open up way faster.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Well, what about Deion Lewis this week by the goal line? I don't think he scored, but like Dwayne Allen came on a pull and he got held up like around the line of scrimmage, and Deion had the ball already and like took a step back and let Dwayne Allen come in and block, and then was like, all right, now I'll go.
Right.
It's just like you don't see that happen often, but you're right. He's definitely been doing that more. I like it. I mean, it just if I
It
have to
shows that
listen,
he's comfortable. I think. So
Yeah.
That for me is comforting.
He's comfortable.
If he's comfortable, I'm
and he's
comfortable.
healthy. So
very true. The one thing I am happy about is that if we do play the Steelers again, it'll be at home, so I don't have to listen to whoever the broadcaster is saying, "Oh my God, Le'Veon Bell is so patient with the football in his hands. It's so amazing. Look at the patience." He's just like, "Shut the hell up. We get it. He's patient. Okay. God damn it. You don't have to say it every freaking run. Okay."
Ugh.
So, so anyway, so we'll see. The Browns might be achieving next year what some team. I mean, shit, you never know. I mean, the Jaguars are in the playoffs this year.
Right.
So
Jaguars and
who the
Rams.
hell knows? You know what I mean? Rams, right? The Rams are terrible. I mean, the 2 worst quarterbacks in the NFL last year are the number 1 seed the number 2 seed and the number 3 seed in the NFC this year. So, yikes! Thank you, Jeff Fisher. So,
and Nick Foles is there now too.
and
so.
Nick Foles, holy shit! So he's won. Oh my God, what a lineup that is. So.
Ugh.
But anyways, we'll see what happens. But yeah, so I think that pretty much does it. We have a few more segments to do until we're done. But is there anything else Patriots wise you guys want to add before we conclude?
The only thing is I think this run we really should cherish, because I think Patricia and McDaniels are gone, and I think those are 2 of the best.
Unless
coordinators in
Belichick
football.
leaves, what? No, fucking
I mean, we saw
Stupid thing.
how long it took to get good coordinators after Cornell left, after Weiss left. It was a revolving door for a couple of years there. You got Bill O'Brien, but to have the steady offensive and defensive coordinators that we've had for the last 4 or 5 years is actually super impressive.
That's true. It is very true. And I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them, certainly one of them and possibly both of them gone after this year. But, yeah, and you're right. And the coordinators certainly are not a dime a dozen. So we'll see what happens with that. But honestly, it's what they've done since they've won here. I mean, think about it this way. since Belichick took over in 2000, they went 5-11 in 2000. Since 2001, since Brady took over as quarterback, they have never finished outside of first place in the division. That is just stupid, right? In 02, they didn't make the playoffs, but they were tied. And in 08, they didn't make the playoffs, but they were tied for first. So they have been either first place or tied for first in every single season since 2001. And it's just lunacy that that's the case. And, but you're right. Definitely the coordinators, and they had some great runs. Obviously they went undefeated in 07, but they had some great runs between 04 and really when Patricia and McDaniels really took over. But they didn't win any Super Bowls. And, you could definitely look at that and say, maybe that's part of not having a great coordinator on either end. So you hope at least that Belichick has guys in the pipeline that can kind of step in and be coordinators right away because he knows it's coming at some point. But who knows? We'll see. So that's a good one. I like that, Mac. Nice work there. So I guess we'll get to this week in sports history. And so I will start. I'm very interested in this. Oh yeah. So my first one, or my this week in sports history, is from January 4th, which is today / when we're recording, maybe not today for you, but January 4th, 1942, and it was the year. Yeah, it was. It was not if you like U.S. history, because that was actually really a terrible year for U.S. entering World War II and everything, but. But it was the Pro Bowl was played on January 4th, 1942. But back then it was not the Pro Bowl. It was the NFL All-Star game where the NFL All-Stars would play the NFL champion. And that year it was the Bears. And the Bears beat the NFL All-Stars 35-24. So the Chicago Bears were better than every other best player on every other team.
Wow. How about that?
So it was actually the second to last game played that way. The last was the 1942 season. And the All-Stars actually beat the Redskins that year. But it was disbanded in 1942 because of travel restrictions from the aforementioned World War II. And the Pro Bowl, in the way it actually is now, was started in 1950. And so it's just kind of interesting that back then they played like the champion against the All-Stars of the NFL. So that's my This Week in Sports History.
I like that a lot. That's pretty cool. I've got one. It's not as in-depth in that. And it's Patriots related, though.
I like
18 years ago today, January 4th, 1999. Belichick resigned it was 2000? I can't do math.
It was 2000. You're right. Yep.
Belichick resigned as the head coach of the New York Jets to take the very same position with the Patriots. And it's a short history, but it's quite the history he's been making in the last 18 years. So I think it's worthy of This Week in Sports History.
I would say it certainly is. Yeah. Yep. No, that's a big one. And it's crazy. I mean, the whole story behind it is nuts because people don't realize, when Parcells retired, Parcells left the Jets and was like, by the way, Belichick's taking over for me. And Bill was like, what, are you shitting me? Like, I don't want to be coach of the Jets. What the hell, dude? And so
sign up for this.
That's really what started the rift between the two of them because Belichick was like, I don't want to be head coach of the Jets. Like, what the hell? You know what I mean? And that's, of course, the famous, cocktail napkin where I resign as HC of the NYJ, and it's like, yeah. And he's just like, screw that, and like, I think it was 23 days later, I think it was officially announced as the head coach of the Patriots. And I believe they sent a first round pick, and I believe it was Sean Ellis, who was the first round pick that was drafted, who actually ended up playing for the Patriots at the end of his career. That guy really came full circle.
Player, yeah. Wow.
So,
and on This Week in History, 1988, January 4th, the Boston Bruins and Edmonton Oilers tied 2-2.
Nice. That was
goals by Bill O'Dwyer and Ray Bork.
Oh, how about that?
There we go.
That was very memorable. That was great.
It was a great tie. They were at home.
It was real epic.
Yep.
Must have been awesome. Yeah, I was 4, so I don't remember it, but it must have been great. So, actually, I wasn't even 4. I was 3.5.
Mac and Goo not alive.
I was born about 6 months later.
Oh, there you go. Look at you guys. You spring chickens, you.
Yeah. So. As I'm sore after shoveling all this snow.
That's why you have to buy a snowblower.
Yeah, I know.
Best investment I've ever made in my entire life.
Oh, I'm jealous of you.
So anyways, as you should be. So, anyways, so yeah, I think that pretty much does it. Mac and Goo, where can they find you guys?
So we're all over the place. We're on Twitter and on Instagram as Mac and Goo, A-N-D Goo. Twitter and Instagram don't allow ampersands for whatever reason. On every other platform, whether it be Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox,
iHeartRadio. Hey, Jinx.
Google Play, but most importantly, obviously iTunes. Get on the iTunes. We are Mac ampersand Goo. That is Shift 7, the ampersand, Mac and Goo.
Symbol K.
And if we do this thing where if you leave us a review, rate us, review us 5 stars on iTunes, we're going to ship you a beautiful plain white t-shirt.
Nice.
You're really sold that.
It's got a Mac and Goo logo on it.
Yeah.
I buried the lead there.
Yeah, but main thing, Twitter, Mackie and Goo with an A-N-D, and iTunes, Mac ampersand Goo.
Yes, I can vouch for that. I actually have one of those Mac and Goo shirts, and they're pretty sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah, they don't have their actual faces on it. They're just character faces, so you don't have to worry about that, which is good.
Yeah.
So, no offense, gentlemen, but
Oh no, it's definitely radio faces over here.
But well, that's good. It fits well. So, also, you guys are as I mentioned, are a movie podcast, but that's okay. Well, movies are good, and we like movies, and so you should listen to them because they have awesome movie content, and I like it a lot. My favorite are the Mac and Gooey Vaults. They're the best.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Well, we appreciate your interaction too. We love getting.
Oh, it's good. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
And we try to. because Goo and I are 2 huge sports fans, so we try to talk about movies with the passion that most folks up, especially in the Northeast, talk about Boston sports. So that's what we try to bring to movies.
We also offer friendship.
Yes, that as well.
Oh, see, there you go. Look at that. So we are Weekend Warrior, as you know already. We are on iTunes. I don't believe we're on iHeartRadio, but I know we're on Stitcher and iTunes, and you can find us as Weekend Warrior on Twitter and email. Our Twitter and email are the same. It's Weekend War Pod with no E's. So it's WKNDWARPOD@gmail.com. And again, on Twitter, it's at Weekend War Pod, no E's. So at WKNDWARPOD. I know it's long, right? It feels long.
You're also just shooting off consonants.
Well, it's true. It feels long.
It feels like a Polish hockey player.
It's very true. It's very true. It does. I mean, I've had Dale from Eat Sleep Fantasy on a few times, and he's giving me shit about my freaking Twitter handle. And I'm like, listen, it's really simple. It's just Weekend War Pod with no E's. That's all you got to do. So it's just type in Weekend War Pod, and you're done.
It's easy to remember it if you with that tagline with no E's. That's actually pretty easy to remember.
Right. Yes. See? So yeah, spelling it out sucks, but I got to do it. I mean, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? What about the people in the back that can't spell? I mean, I got to, so you don't have to spell to be able to listen to my show. We're all inclusive here to everybody. Okay. If you can't read or write, that's fine. We're still okay with you. You just have to listen. That's all.
You're an equal opportunity show here.
That speaks to us because reading is for nerds.
We're not so good with reading.
Right. Exactly. You don't have to read it all. You could just listen. So, and then maybe transcribe if you'd like. I mean, if you want something to read, you can transcribe it and read it if you'd like. Sure. But I don't know why you'd want to do that.
You'll be able to get every episode of Mac and Goo in Braille very, very soon.
Nice. There you go. So, anyways, that pretty much does it. So listen, send us an email, send us a tweet, or, perhaps you can, does Goo have a movie ready? It sounds like crickets.
Goo, do you have a movie ready?
No, because Mac has my computer.
Yikes.
So, yeah.
You can, okay.
So we got nothing?
Mac, do you want to read about Mac and me?
You can do it.
I don't have the computer.
Spin it.
Yes. Well, let me start that over again. Wait, it's a movie called what?
Mac and Me.
Never heard of it.
It's about my life.
It's basically an obscure 80s movie that has a legitimate 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, but we completely ripped off their the movie poster for our original logo 2 years ago.
Really?
Before we got smart. So it's got a little meaning to us.
A NASA spacecraft has landed on an unknown planet and begins to take rock and soil samples. 4 aliens discover it and get sucked up into its vacuum. After which it's taken back to Earth. The aliens are able to escape from a military base by using their powers, with which they can destroy or heal anything they touch. During the escape, the youngest one hides in a passing van occupied by a wheelchair-bound boy named Eric Cruz. What's funny about that is he cruises in the wheelchair. I don't know if they did it on purpose or not. His older brother Michael and his single mother Janet, who are moving to California from Illinois.
So if that doesn't sell you on Mac and Goo podcast, I don't know what would.
That's amazing.
So this movie, every time Paul Rudd goes on Conan O'Brien's show to promote a movie, he's like, "Oh, I've brought a clip with me, for the upcoming movie." And what he does every time is just plays a clip from Mac and Me of a kid falling off a cliff into like a lagoon, almost like a reservoir.
All right, wait.
Then Mac.
It's the worst special effects ever.
Wait, save this because I'm gonna restart that, and we're gonna actually do that. Okay.
Which one?
Oh no,
I just read.
Well, yeah. So what I usually do is personify it. So like you're there. So like I'll say, send us an email, send us a tweet, and then it will be like you're alien and something landed. You know what I mean? So you like personify it instead of
okay.
You see what I mean? So you're basically giving the synopses of the movie.
Okay.
With what I mean?
All right, I can try this.
I tried to do a funny synopsis like Marcus does, but it didn't work out very well. So
I can try this.
Well, Marcus just has a certain inflection with his voice that he gets just real old timey.
Right. So, all right. So I'm gonna start over. And I'm gonna say, okay. So send us an email, send us a tweet, and then boom, you'll go.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Nice. And then Mac, I want you to mention what you mentioned too because it provides context and is funny.
Perfect.
All right. Sweet. All right. So send us an email, send us a tweet, or
say you're a young boy who is in a wheelchair and you stumble across a NASA company where the youngest of 4 aliens break out of a vacuum that has come from their home planet. Now, these they much.
Oh, fuck. Seriously? I lost you. God damn it.
I can do it again. It's okay.
What the hell, dude? I have to say it's really strange because I listened to your podcast on like 1.6 or something like that. And so like to hear you like speak normally is like really weird to me because I'm like usually you're like talking a lot faster. So I'm like expecting you to talk a lot faster and you're not. And I'm like, what's he doing? And I'm like, right. That's because...
Oh no. I mean, I'm also doing reads right now, but
no, but I mean just in general, like it just sounds whatever, anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's hope we don't let's hope we don't break up that time. Here we go. Ready?
Yes.
All right. So send us a tweet, send us an email, or
say you're a young wheelchair bound boy. I don't know. Maybe your name is Eric Cruz. You have an older brother named Michael, a single mother named Janet, and you are just driving by a NASA facility where a young alien has broken out. Now, this young alien is lost from his family, but with one touch, he can destroy or heal anything. And you are moving to California from Illinois.
So that was very much like this show we just did, just like the Patriots, wishing good health upon them from our alien friends. So if that doesn't sell you on Mac and Goo, I don't know what will. If you don't know the movie Mac and Me, it's an obscure 1980s movie, and it is near and dear to our heart because not only did we steal that logo, that was our original Mac and Goo logo, but also if you've ever seen Paul Rudd on Conan O'Brien, every single time he goes on there promoting a movie, he goes, "Oh, so Conan, I've brought a clip with me of my upcoming movie. I love you, man." And so they cut to the clip, and it's actually a clip from Mac and Me, and it's one of the best worst scenes in cinema history. So if you get a chance, YouTube Paul Rudd on Conan O'Brien, and it'll be a good laugh for you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, fellas. I appreciate it. And I did want to bring a little movie. I usually do that, but I wanted you guys to bring a little movie insight into it because I mean, you guys go a lot more obscure than me, and I love that. So anyway, so we appreciate it, and maybe we'll have you on the show again, or maybe you'll even listen to me on the Mac and Goo show. You never know. So
you never know. Possibilities.
Never know what the future holds.
That's very true. That's very true. So anyways, we appreciate it, and thanks for coming on. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right, that was awesome. Oh well, thanks, guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, Goo, is your wife like a huge Instagram person or something like that?
Yeah, it's my girl. So she's got like 25,000 followers.
Basically, like places will approach her and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, I would love to give you a free night in our hotel if
What?
you like tweet about it, Instagram it." So
Yeah.
she'll spend a night in a hotel and just post on social media, and they'll get their money back in advertising, and she gets a free night or free dinner wherever.
That's insane.
It's pretty. Goo is a trophy wife.
I'm just a trophy wife. So when she gets invited to like a restaurant, I'm basically +1.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah,
That's like you're living the life of luxury.
absolutely am.
It's fantastic. What does she even do on Instagram that she has 25,000 followers?
It's a mix of fashion, fitness, a lot of Boston stuff. So she's really good local. And that's why a lot of places on like Newbury Street or just kind of like in Boston always want to work with her.
Interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's funny because I see your sister tweeting, and at first I thought your sister was your wife. And then someone mentioned, because I have no, I didn't know. She said the same last name.
No,
I was like,
obviously, yeah.
And then somebody mentioned something about your sister, made a comment on it. And I was like, oh, not his wife,
Yeah.
definitely his sister. And I was like, okay. So,
Yeah,
Wow.
my girlfriend's bigger on Instagram. She doesn't really do a lot with Twitter, which
Oh, that's
makes
why.
sense because Twitter's dying. So that's a good move.
is Twitter really dying?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has, out of all of the social medias, it definitely has the shortest lifespan of what people are waiting for is the new Twitter so they can get off of this one.
Well, I mean, for her
Mm.
with Instagram too, she's great at taking photos and she's photogenic, and that's really
Yeah.
what places.
That's
want
really
is
all that
photos,
matters, right?
Follow at Batty Day.
At what?
At Batty Day.
Batty Day with
Yeah.
D's or T's?
D's.
BADIEDAE.
Correct.
Got it.
Ouch! Look at you. All right, I will do that. We have a show Instagram, which I think we've posted like 3 times. But I was like,
Yeah,
well, let
no,
me just
I mean,
make one. What the hell, you know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
we were like really hesitant to start the Instagram page. But since
Because it's really hard to like
it really
drum up interest. So
Well,
like, oh,
it's
here's us talking into a microphone.
Well, that's the whole thing
Right.
is that like pictures wise, like I didn't want to use other people's pictures. So it's only pictures that we take, but there's only so many angles of the Gudio. so it's basically the exact same picture, just slightly askew.
Right. Well, and the other thing, the thing for me, the real big thing for me is that I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
And so like I really don't want like me out there much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'm on Twitter, but I have like 350 followers. Like, none of my kids are going to see me on Twitter. Like,
Yeah.
occasionally I'll make a video or something like that, but like, I'm not on there a ton. And so it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm just like, I'm hesitant to do anything like Instagram wise because I'm like, all right, the kids are a lot more kids are.
Computer.
What do you say?
Yep.
You're gone. Now you're back. I think you're back.
Yep, there we go.
Yep, you're back.
Yeah. No,
So-
yeah, I mean, I always try and keep Brian Antonelli and Goo apart. So I
Right.
understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. Which is nice because then you don't,
Yeah.
like then you have like an alter ego. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like
Well, Brian Antonelli's the more of the alter ego now. You're full Goo.
I know. It's, I've slowly become Batman and Bruce Wayne is the alter
Well, no,
ego.
it's like rough Hulk. Like you've gone full Goo,
That's-
and it's hard to get back up.
It's the exact same metaphor. The exact same thing.
It's just the Hulk is funnier than Batman.
Yeah.
Possibly more deprecating as well, but
Yeah.
So, but no, but that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, what the hell? I was just about to ask you something. And I can't remember what the hell it was. Oh, do you guys work at the Sports Hub? Is that what you guys do?
No, I work at WBZ,
Wow.
the AM side. So that's how I knew Sarge and
Like Sean Silver.
Sean.
and,
Well, I met Sean through Twitter. It wasn't even
oh, yeah, that's true.
one
But-
day. I just tweeted at Sean and I'm like, "Hey, want to be on my podcast?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure."
And-
so it wasn't even
And when
Oh,
they
that's
were,
cool.
are you still sister stations, or did the merger?
No,
merge is gone now.
with the merger. We are no longer sister stations. So,
So what
that's
was
why
good bef-
Sarge
yeah.
no longer works with me.
But what was good before? So he had his work email. So if we were emailing someone from WBZ or from the Sports Hub, we could do it from Brian's WBZ email, and it gave us some
and
credibility.
it said
Right.
CBS Radio on it. So
Yeah, which that makes a lot. That makes a lot of difference. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
So yes, I mean, like that's how like we almost got Shirtleave on the show like 2 years ago. Like Shirtleave went back and forth with me like 3 or 4 emails
Oh, that would have been
because
sick,
he
dude.
saw the CBS radio thing.
Right.
Yeah,
That would have been awesome. Did you get Toucher on? No.
we got Toucher on, but
did.
I also sent Toucher like 20 emails.
Yeah, it took forever, and
It took forever.
I don't
and-
blame anyone for giving a small time podcast.
No, and I,
time of day.
I'm absolutely fine with him not answering.
He
but I would-
actually, we had planned something out, and then he emailed us. Goo emailed him like 3 times the night before and said, "Hey, we're on tomorrow." He didn't get back. He gets off the air at like 10:15 and sends Goo an email and says, "Hey, can you guys come over to the station now?" And like we were both working, so we both like called and got covered for work and like went over to the
Yeah.
sports hub and like literally we're in and out in like an hour and recorded 40 minutes of audio with him, and it was awesome.
It was actually
That's
really
awesome.
funny too because we showed up and he goes, "So do you guys have any gear?" And I'm like, "This is a radio station. Can we just use one of your studios?" So, yeah, we
That's
recorded with
funny.
him, and Mac and I shared a microphone. It was
Yeah, it was a real interesting situation.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
no, it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, it's
Yeah.
funny because I'm not in radio or anything. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing at all. Like literally, Mike, who my co-host Mike, who's not obviously with me tonight, but we share a mic. Where I got a freaking this is my microphone, a Samson Go mic,
Yeah,
and it's literally just that's it. We're just on a computer and we just did it. But we've had like a few guys from Barstool come on. Like we had
nice.
Phil Perry
Yeah, I saw you
on.
got Clem, right?
Yeah, Clem was wicked cool. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'll definitely come on." So that was cool. But then like we had Greeny from Barstool on. We had Phil Perry. We had Adam Kaufman. Like we've had some like
Yeah,
fairly
yeah.
big names, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, but people are just cool. I'll just send them a DM, and they'll be like, "Sure," and then
Yeah.
I send a million
like
DMs,
the
and
most
some people
part-
say yes, some people say no, but
I feel like the most part, most people are just fine with coming over my house too. Like I'm
Right.
like, hey, I have a home studio. Do you want to come by? And I mean, outside of like Toucher, basically everyone else is like, yeah, sure.
yeah, which is
Which
cool.
is,
That's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. I mean, that's something that's kind of the next step for me. My wife is already like, you spend too much time on this, like this and that. I'm like, well,
oh yeah,
just,
I get that a lot too. But
So, well, I got 3 kids, so it's like,
Yeah.
she's like, Jesus Christ, like you got to spend a little bit more time,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
I don't have any kids, but I do have 200 Funko Pops, which takes a lot of time managing the collection.
yeah, as you can see behind me, Mac is.
I don't even have room for them at my own house, so I have to bring them over here.
Yeah.
What even are those things? Like, I mean, I don't know.
guess the best way to describe them is I don't even know if they're figures, but
It's basically what I always say is it's pretty much every character ever created with the same aesthetic.
yeah, they have
So
like
you can-
licenses for
Yeah,
everything.
so you can pair them all up and you can put them like it's really
So they
easy
look-
to
they
display
all
and
look
stuff.
the same, but they
Yeah.
just dress differently, basically.
Pretty
yeah,
much,
essentially.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. Hey, what the hell? That's good stuff. So, but yeah. So, anyways, if you ever want, if you ever looking for someone else to be on the show, not that I'm anyone, but I'm a fairly big movie guy. I like to think. I
Yeah,
said,
no, I mean we're trying to expand the roster right now. So we're still kind of brainstorming that. We have hit a good groove of just me and him
yeah,
because
I especially
I have no idea what you're saying right now because I can't hear you. No,
well, I was
Oh,
saying
there you are.
I especially like, you have no problem disagreeing with us, which we love because a lot of times someone will send us something on Twitter and we'll respond and they'll just be like, not like their opinion will back down. Well, I like the back and forth,
yeah.
So
Right.
you've always provided good insight.
Well, yeah, and I think I think sometimes for some people at least, it's like, well, these are experts, and you guys. I mean, not that you're
We're
like
not. Yeah, no.
well, but I mean, you've done what, like 85 or however many like podcasts. Like you're kind of an expert because you talk about movies like all the time. But at the same time,
Right,
it's like
right.
it's a movie. Like it's your opinion that
that's-
matters. You know what I mean?
that's
So
the
it's
whole
not.
thing,
Yeah.
is that with movies, even more than sports, it's all opinion.
Right.
That's pretty much it.
And sometimes we feel like the stepchild because like #Dork obviously keeps on Boston radio.
Right. Right.
And Davey's a big comic head. And then the boxers are like, Marcus was an actor in LA for a while. Like he's a theater or something theater major, and Wes is like a pretty well-read guy who's seen more movies than both Goo and I. So sometimes it's like, oh, we're definitely like the redheaded stepchild of the bunch, but we bring the heat.
Yeah, that's
You
what
do.
it is. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I mean I listen to Dork sometimes. They're more like I'm not a comic guy or anything like that. So it's
Right.
like if it's not movies, I'm like, you know. So like that's why I like listening to you guys a lot. The Boxers I just started listening to, and I thought it was gonna be stupid, and it's like really good. I'm like surprised at how I was like shocked at how good it was.
It's really good and it's really concise. And
Yes.
Well, they do a great job at
yeah.
reviewing movies without spoiling them, and I'm
Yeah.
terrible at
It's
that. Like
very,
I want to
very
go into
difficult.
spoilers.
I could never
immediately.
do that.
It's very, very difficult. Like even
Yeah.
when we did the Star Wars one for like a half hour, like that was extremely tough.
Yeah. Which I didn't listen to anything before I went because I was like, I don't
did
want to
the
know
exact same
anything.
thing. I didn't look or listen to anything, and then when I saw it, I was like, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm staring at
See,
the poster.
I
right
know,
now.
Mac, you hate it so much. You know, I don't hate it as much because I'm not as big of a Star Wars guy. Like I saw one.
See, I feel like that's kind of the
Three.
common thing. Like if you're not a huge Star Wars guy, you kind of liked it. But
Right.
I'm just like, I mean, Goo's a big Star Wars guy too. I don't know. I like I've said it a couple times. Like I go out of my way to not see bad movies, and that was like bottom 3 movie I saw this
I
year.
like
It just
bad movies,
bothers me.
though.
there are so many holes. I feel like it's just it's almost like more convenience than anything, where they like kind of did a few things out of convenience just because of like, oh, you know, this would be convenient if we did that, and it's like,
Right.
really? But
And
I
they're
don't know.
passing it off as like new force powers instead. It's just
Right.
it's there's a lot of things wrong with it. But I mean, I don't think they made anything too final other than killing Luke. So I think as far as the third movie goes, Abrams still has a lot of
I don't know.
options.
Someone told me at work that he's not actually dead. And I'm like, okay, fine. I don't really care anymore.
Yeah, I
if
don't
he's
know.
not dead, he's not dead. If he's dead, he's
Of
dead.
course, I fell victim to expectations too because I
Yeah,
thought
that's
this
what it
movie was
is.
going to be amazing, and so maybe I'll love the third one because I have no expectations for it now.
That's true. It's very true. Hey, do you guys watch? I don't know if you watch a lot of TV, but do you watch Black Mirror?
I have never actually
I
seen an
haven't, no.
episode, but a lot of people have been
Holy
tweeting
fuck
about
balls,
it.
dude!
Like a lot of
I
people
know
that I
Jodie
respect
Foster's
have been tweeting
directing
about
now,
it.
isn't she? I think Jodie Foster just signed on to direct
so
next season.
Maybe, yeah, but they have a different director for every episode. It's like a Twilight Zone where
Yeah.
like where the episodes aren't connected or not. And I'll tell you what, man, holy fuck, dude. The episode season 3, which was I don't even know, last year, I guess, is when it came out. But the first one stars Jessica Chastain, and it's like I don't know. It's basically like your social media is like your life. And so like your
So it's like
rating,
my life.
exactly. But your rating is like who you are. Like you can get better things if you have a higher rating. You're not allowed to work certain jobs if your rating isn't high enough. And so like everyone's like super fake nice to each other because they want to get good ratings for everyone. And it's like they try to like reach out to like people that have higher ratings because if you get higher ratings from those people, like then you'll get more likes, and the more likes you get or the more like 5-star reviews you get. So, but like every single interaction you have with another person is reviewed and given 1 to 5 stars, and then can affect your ratings. It's like, dude, it's like mind blowing because you're like, holy shit, like you can't have an off day because if you have like one off day, like your whole life could be fucked. You know what I mean?
I would never be able to succeed in that world.
No, I mean, that's the thing. It's like no one can be real or realistic. It's like, dude, it was wild, like unbelievable. And then this season was just like really cool. And a lot of, I mean, it is like it's like a modern Twilight Zone where it's like, you know, this is where like, it's all about kind of technology and where technology is taking us and stuff. And the things that are going to be possible with technology and shit. But holy shit, dude! I watched all 6 of this season, and I watched like 2 of last season. I'd still have to go back because I just found out about it, but it is fucking unbelievable, dude.
Yeah,
it's good.
I've seen a lot of people that I respect, like TV movie wise, tweet about it and like it. So I'm gonna have to give it a try.
Yeah, it's really solid. There's a few this season that sucked, but I would just go online and just pick it because they're not interrelated at all. You could just do whatever you want.
Right.
So I'd go online and like pick some that people really like and listen to those because they're really good. So, anyways, I'll let you guys go. But thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, man. We had a really good time.
it.
We always love
good.
talking sports. So
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah. So
Have a
maybe,
good one, man.
you never know. Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah.
All right, fellas.
Take care.
All right. See you. You too.